While inflation ebbs and flows, it has many Americans worried about the possibility of another recession. Some economists say it's inevitable. So how do we prepare for what's to come? Here's Cathy DeWitt Dunn from DeWitt Dunn Financial Services.
Well, if we take a look at it, things are out of control. I mean, the Department of Labor just released its report for the month of April, and we're taking a look at consumer price index rose 8.3%. But the great news is that is down just a little bit from 8.5% the month before, which is the highest rate that we've seen in over 40 years.
Well, some economists are pointing out that the core price index is going up 0.3% month to month. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's excluding the big fluctuating categories, things like food and gas. So what story does that tell about the overall health of our economy and where it's headed?
What we're really seeing right now is that prices across the board are completely out of control. We take a look at in China, we're seeing, we're having a hard time sourcing and getting things back into our country. And we're seeing with Ukraine across the board as well. So what we're really taking a look at is just inflation completely out of control. And people really need to take a look at their finances and maybe perhaps do something a little bit different, because until this gets under control, it's really hurting us in our pocketbooks right now.
Well, besides the concerning numbers, it appears that consumers are continuing to accept the higher prices. How much longer do you think that's going to last?
Wow, a lot of people are indicating that it could last, as long as into 2023. A lot of consumers are thinking that we're going to have a recession and it's impending. And then we take a look at what the economists are saying. They are predicting perhaps this is going to happen in 2023. So across the board, there's a lot of mixed messages. And we just really need to take a look at cutting back, doing things a little bit differently, and preparing ourselves just in case we do go into a recession.
Yeah, zooming out there, you mentioned 2023. What are the signs that we're seeing right now indicating a recession ahead?
Well, I think one of the big challenges is that we're seeing when we look at the stock market, right? So just recently, short-term bonds just in the month of March were very risky to hold versus long-term bonds. And that's usually an indication that a recession is right around the corner. And then we also take a look at gas prices. They're bouncing all over the place. We saw gas come down to $4.07 a gallon, and then turn around in May, it popped right back up to $4.37. And across, the country, we're at about an average of 4.10 cents per gallon. But we're just saying that the gas prices are continuing to rise, as well as you just mentioned, our core basic food and energy prices, et cetera, continuing to climb as well.
I know you help families and households get their finances in order. How do you prepare for this? How do you budget for this so to soften the blow a little bit?
That's really a great question. I think the biggest thing is you need to have a plan in place, number one. And some of the tips that I always give my clients is, number one, you need to diversify your investments. And what I mean by that is you have to look at stocks, bonds, perhaps real estate, gold, commodities, art, something that's not necessarily correlated to the market. Then we also need to eliminate our high interest rate debt. And I see a lot of people go about this quite differently, where they may have a very large credit card loan that's out there, and they're going to try to attempt to pay that balance down. But what you need to do is take a look at what that interest rate is on your credit card. And the highest credit card debt that you have right now, you need to continue to pay that off if you have lower interest rates on some of your other cards. And the biggest thing is make sure that you have all of your payments on auto pay, because what we're seeing right now with the financial institutions, the minute that you have a late pay, that triggers your interest rate that's going to go up on that credit card. And then I would just really say boost your emergency savings, because any time that we head into a recessionary period, what we see is layoffs with corporations, and people just aren't prepared for that. So make sure that you have at least 3 to 6 months of all of your expenses in the bank, and that's going to give you added peace of mind. And then the biggest thing is remain calm. We did have a recession, a little blip during the COVID crisis. We always come out of it, but you definitely don't want to just basically sell off your portfolio, when it's at an all-time low. So we don't want to overreact, and we don't want to become emotional. And if you sit down with a financial advisor, perhaps they can walk you through and maybe, change your risk categories. But I definitely think if you have the solid plan in place, you will be able to remain calm.
All right, Cathy DeWitt Dunn, great advice there.